and we're going to get maybe more than just the vamp in 2024, maybe.
Yes.
Pow, and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. And this week I had the pleasure to speak to both Emily and Lenny for the very first time about all things G.I. Joe classified in 2024. Now, of course, you know how I like to approach these things, rather than the same old boring question and answer format where you're asking questions you know they can't answer. Instead, I just like to have a fun conversation about a brand that I'm enjoying at the moment, because there's no denying Classified have been getting better year after year, but they're not perfect. And we did discuss some of the gummy weapon issues, but also some of the exciting surprises that are coming in 2024. So, as always, just a fun chit chat with hopefully a few little nuggets about the future along the way. So, without further ado, let's just get straight into the interview. Pow, and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. And today I have two very special guests, two debutants on the channel, if you will. So I'm very excited to have them on to talk about something I don't often get the opportunity to talk about, but it's something I know a lot about and can definitely talk their head off. So I apologise for the rambling that is about to happen. But ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Emily and Lenny from the G.I. Joe brand team at Hasbro. Welcome. Emily, I just asked you before we went live, your foot's good, you're okay, good health now?
Yes, foot is finally good. I am so sorry that I missed you at London Comic Con. So sorry I missed everybody at London Comic Con this year. I was in a boot for 8 weeks with a double foot and ankle sprain. And I definitely heard it while getting up off the couch, just like forgot how feet worked and just absolutely ate it. So
I've just had a birthday, so it's a sign of getting it's like ages. Like, oh no, my back hurts. I've got a creak in my shoulder. It's like, oh no. So yeah, it will happen to us.
Coming for all of us.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. Is all I'm trying to say. And Lenny,
thank you.
And Lenny, welcome. I've met Emily before at London. Hopefully one day you can make the trip over.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But welcome, my friend. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Nice to meet you.
Yes, of course. I do have a podcast on the channel called Joes+Juice that I'll try and do like monthly to recap all the news that is. So yeah, obviously I'd love to have you on that as well. But this is like a cross-pollination on the channel, if you will, because I've brought some juice and we can absolutely talk about some Joe. So let me take a sip.
Man, I want some juice now.
There you go, Joe's and Juice.
What kind of juice is it? I feel like that's important for us to know.
It's Ribena. That's in America. You can have that in America, right?
Ribena? What is that?
You don't have Ribena? Oh, you're missing
No, what
out.
is it?
Just blackberry juice squash, like.
Oh,
what?
Blackberry juice
Blackberry
is awesome.
juice?
Yeah,
I want to drink that.
Ribena is delicious. I didn't realise it wasn't continental, but yeah, there you go.
No, we don't have
That
it.
sounds incredible.
Next time you come to London, I'll buy you a glass at the bar. Joe's
Perfect, thank you.
There you go. All right, so let's just start nice and easy. All right, I genuinely think that the G.I. Joe brand, it's just got stronger as the years have went on, and like stuff like the HasLabs can prove that with the amount of support that you guys get. Two very successful campaigns so far. One of them is on show behind me, and of course I don't know how I'm going to make room for that dragonfly. I have to see it in person, but I will find a way for it to be displayed. But the line is getting stronger and stronger, so I'm just curious, do you feel the same way, and are you excited for 2024? Is it going to be much of the same, or are there a few surprises along the way that you think we're not expecting? Because you know what, everyone likes to always think they know everything, but the reality is we don't know a hell of a lot. So what do you think of 2024? What's that having in store for us?
Dan, there's always surprises that are coming.
That's what I like to hear.
I think excitement, Emily, is like, yes, very much so.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I would say for what we have in store, I think there's some cool line expansions. So want to add.
Yeah, I think that it's really fun because we're at the point of classified, and we've kind of said this all along, where nothing in the history of G.I. Joe is off limits for classified, right? It's going to take us a little while to get there for a lot of things. So for 24 and 25, we have really exciting lines that we're continuing to kind of push into the lore of G.I. Joe and put our own stamp on it and say, this is, while we are calling back from 40 years of real American hero history and lore. This is a modernized version of these characters that you know and love. And here is an exciting new way to display them. And I think that like we knew that how excited we were about the Hiss tank and how much we loved it. But seeing everybody getting their Hiss tanks over the last month and unboxing them and being excited about them has kind of further solidified, feels a little bit weird of a term to say, but like it's made the team feel like we're making a lot of really good choices in terms of the brand, I think. Lenny, do you agree?
100%. And I think it's with G.I. Joe, it's so cool. We were actually talking about it the other day, my director and I, we were talking about like, you know, what's working. And I think it's the utility of the brand. So like when you collect G.I. Joes, what's really cool about them is they're battling action figures, like a lot of action figures of the 80s and 90s. So like you need particular things for your battle. And I think the Hiss tank brings that, like the heavy artillery tank, you know, the high speed sentry, essentially.
Oh, sure.
So like we want to make things for the collection that play into the narrative of the battle between Joe and Cobra. And it's pretty funny. Anecdotally, my nephew was over. He calls G.I. Joes. And I think it's the coolest thing in the world.
So cute.
And so his mom was like, you can play with those. That's fine. Like, like a handful. She didn't want to make too much of a mess at her house, but I didn't care. I'm like, dude, go nuts. It's like pulling her from the shelf. It was funny. Every couple of minutes, he would make an argument that he needed more of them. But he was explaining, Mom, I need this guy to do this job. I need to go get another one. And I'm like, I can't argue with that. I'm like, go to the shelf and get what you want, kid. I think it was nice to hear, because I think the philosophy is working, right? For like, even for little kids and for adult collectors, it's like we're creating utility within the characters so that they accent each other and they complement each other for the battle you're trying to create, or the narrative of
it's the world building aspect. Like I'm not so much of a photographer as such, but I love to share my excitement of this stuff online. That's why I have my YouTube channel. It's a place for me to just express my hobby. And what's great about Joe's is, as I said, it's like I'm a lad growing up late 80s, early 90s. Like it was all Action Man for me. As I said, I'll pull them out in a second. Yeah. But like it's all like a subline of G.I. Joe, and of course we had Action Force as well, and like it's like I just love that sort of military aspect, and we wanted it in the 6-inch line for ages, so I'm very happy it's happening. And I do love the world building, and the vehicles are a big part of that. So I love that. Like we always thought that because of the scale, the only really way to get these decent vehicles would be the HasLab concept, but thanks to the Vamp, you've sort of showed us that's not always going to be the case. There's going to be ways. Yep. So is that something we are going to see moving forward now, where we can add more vehicles to the line, and it doesn't always necessarily have to be the HasLab format, and we're going to get maybe more than just the Vamp in 2024, maybe?
Yes, I'll say that.
Look,
yes,
there's so many possibilities, isn't it? It's just speculate away.
It's so to get a little bit of the design perspective. Yes, because we want to make stuff that makes that story come to life in that world. So to build a world, you need vehicles, you need big weapons, you need things that are more sci-fi based. Like I'm trying to say things without giving anything away, but like
doing a great job, nailing it.
You need things that are going to put your figures in an environment, right? Because like part of what kind of gets us pumped is seeing some of that photography and what people do with the world building. And I think that's what like kind of perpetuates the storyline without having a hardcore media right now, right? Like it's like we're trying to create the media within the brand, and that's what they were doing in the 80s. A lot of toy lines. Then the cartoon would come out, or within like a year or 2 year period. So trying to make that like world of within, it's self-contained, and then allowing the consumer to kind of take it further, whether they know G.I. Joe or not. We want somebody to be able to dive into the brand and be like, I know what that is. I could tell a story with that. I like the way that looks. So, yes.
Yeah, no, and
I think there's also an element of it where not having a lot of entertainment that the toys are tied to works to our advantage, because this, to me, more than any of the other brands at Hasbro that are doing 6-inch figures right now, you get to really have imaginative play with these figures. This is not like we all know exactly who Spider-Man is, and you know exactly what kind of a character Spider-Man is when you're playing with a Spider-Man figure, but there's enough kind of nebulousness about the world of G.I. Joe where you can know the background of the characters, but still they can be stand-ins for more generic kind of character types while you're creating those stories that I think is really special.
Enjoy. Yeah, like I completely agree. And I the world building, as I said, for me, it's all about displaying. So I love being able to open that up. So I love the idea of getting more vehicles at that smaller scale. I have to always, every time I speak to you, Emily, I'm gonna just say we need that canoe. The G.I. Joe community got mad at me last time for asking about a canoe, so I'm just gonna make a point of it now. Every time I speak to you, we need a canoe. All right, you can fit that into a deluxe box.
A canoe could be sick.
Easy.
I think a canoe could be awesome.
Easy.
And I think that we're always trying to look for things that you can use across multiple lines, that like there's utility for them. So it's not just, I mean, we do things that are very, very specific to certain like figures and certain storylines. We also do things that are like Mutton Junkyard. Like you can use that dog with a lot of different 6-inch figure lines and he would blend in seamlessly. And so I think he's a very good boy. But so like in that sense, like a canoe would actually be really cool.
Yeah, no, again, vehicles are great as well. I'd love to still want those bigger vehicles like the Mobats and like the Whale, the Hovercraft would be great. I still think that's HasLab potential because you've went land, sea and air so far. You've got the Hiss Tank, you've got the air with the Dragonfly. We need the sea now. I think Whale would be a good shout. But continuing with that world building idea, playsets is always a nice thing to add. And back in the day, we had playsets like the Checkpoint, and then there was that like turret, the bunker for the Cobras. Like, and again, they're not as big and expansive. They can fit in the same sort of range, I think, as like a Vamp. Playsets, have they, of course, been on your mind for something for the classified line?
We've spoken about them, and I think you'd have to take kind of a different approach, just because like we try to average out how big people's shelves are, essentially. Like, is it like 16 inches deep, or I don't know what that is in the system overseas, but
we do inches. It's fine. We get that.
Like, is it 16 inches deep? Is it 20 inches tall? So it's like, will that fit in there? And the figures are 6 inches tall average. So you got to kind of play around with that. So it's like, do you do a modular system where you allow the consumer to build whatever they want, which is kind of cool? And again, it's like, what could play into the utility of it? And then price point, right? Because like a watchtower could be pretty big. So like you start weighing all that stuff out. So it's not necessarily like a definite we would or we wouldn't, but it's a matter of like
logistics.
Logistics and utility that it serves, and like does the utility outweigh some of the logistics that wouldn't work out? Yeah. So people would be like, yes, I need that. I'm gonna make room, like you're saying for the Hiss Tank. You're like, I made room for the Hiss Tank. Yeah. So it's like you gotta kind of think, you gotta weigh those options, because you think to yourself, like, do I make this or do I make 5 other figures?
Yeah.
So it's like this kind of push and pull system of like what's more necessary than the other. And then in 5 years from now, maybe makes more sense to make that, because we fulfilled the figure requirement. So you get so instead of doing those 5 new figures, a play set would be more beneficial for people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like figuring out what people need, essentially.
If the line stays strong and consistent, it's definitely something that will get brought closer to the reality, I suppose, is what you're saying, as the world builds.
We're also consciously aware of how much the line has expanded since 2020, when it was, created with a very limited number of figures in it. And so we want to make sure that from a fan perspective, if you are choosing to collect everything in the line, that we're not giving you a bunch of really high price point items in the same year. We want this to be a line that is accessible. We want it to be, we don't want you to have to go bankrupt to have to get everything.
Of course.
And so I think that is balancing out too. We lurk on social media. We see what people are saying about things. And there was a comment where somebody was like, is anybody else really thankful that there haven't been any pre-orders that have launched for like the last month, because it's finally giving me a chance to catch up?
Yeah.
Everybody else is like, no, give us more stuff. We're like,
it's toy collector mentality. Everyone's always excited for the next thing, because once it's been confirmed and they know it's happening, it's like, okay, what's next? It's just toy mentality, unfortunately. But bringing it back to figures and what is coming, I like that you always have this approach of you reveal a name, and then you reveal the digital render, and then you do the pre-order, so you get the solicitation with the accessories and stuff. So I always feel like even though you know what's coming, you don't actually know the full story until it actually goes up for solicitation. And I like that pattern, so I hope you continue to do that. And is it safe to say that everything that is on the sort of name only list that you've given so far in the pipeline, if you will, is all scheduled for the 2024 calendar year?
I think most of it is. There may have been a couple of things for the last set of name only reveals that, full disclosure, sometimes we forget what we've said for name only reveals, and we have to double check.
I could go through them one by one if you want me to. Let's do this.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think most of them are 2024.
Yeah, so most of them are 24. There may be a couple. Everything earlier is 24. There may have been a couple from the last one that are early 25 at this point. But yes, so there should be lots of things coming out in the next year that should be pretty fun.
From the last sort of set of reveals you did, some of my favourite things were, well, one, the retro cards are like making a strong return. I was always sad as a collector, like when the plastic packaging disappeared. So I'm glad that we've sort of done a 180 on that. And because the retro cards, like I've got a whole wall of Spider-Man stuff here. I've been buying all the G.I. Joe stuff as well. So I'm glad that they're coming back. I remember Cobra Commander's a lot thicker card as well, which I appreciate. So again, those little details make a difference. So is it safe to say that now in 2024 we're going to see a steady stream of retro cards throughout the year from what's been revealed so far?
Yeah, I think we have 3 different waves of 3 figures coming out in 24 for retro. So it'll be 9 total figures for the year.
Oh, that's good to know, because now I can start planning, getting my tape measure out and go, okay, where's this
exactly?
See, this is the type of thing we appreciate.
Very practical.
Knowing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I have a card if you guys want to see it. Emily, should I show the card?
Yeah, go for it.
Is it a new one? Yeah, let's do it.
Scarlet.
Yeah. Sorry, as I try to get the cat off of my desk. Thank you, Gretchen.
I've closed the door so the dog can't get him. He's a big joke.
A little bit of inside how we do things. One of our last steps, we get a figure in the card. Yep. So I have to cut her out. So her blister card of all of accessories are out because I've since posed it and ripped them apart and made comments. Because we make comments at a lot of stages. But
always commenting, always refining.
Card, and as you can see, like this stuff is, and we keep on harping on it, but like we really took it to heart. When the card,
the original card was very flimsy. There was no it was very flimsy.
And so it was the problem was that by the time we realized all of the issues with the cards, and especially the issues with how they were being shipped, we had already printed and manufactured all of the cards for the entire year. Yeah. So there was no way that we could go back and fix them. And then the line got postponed with the announcement of plastic-free packaging. Yeah. And so now this is really kind of our opportunity to course correct and fix that for everybody.
Yeah. So very nice card, very heavy. So we're excited about it.
Just continuing on that theme of like issues, the only real negative that goes around the community at the minute is the warpness of the weapons. A lot of people say the weapons are good. I've experienced it myself, where I take the gun out and I'm trying to face it forward, but the gun's like sweeping off to the left, like he's in that Wanted movie. Like, so is that something you're obviously aware of and continually addressing? Yes. Because there is quite obvious some weapons are coming out a lot floppier than others.
Yeah, it's been driving me crazy, actually. Full disclosure, from our end, when we get samples in, literally, we've been making comments like, this is too soft. This is too bendy. We need to fix this. This is like a absolute fix. And it's been one of on some figures, it's been like a battle to get them fixed because of some of the design, what we need them to be designed to look like may not fulfill a QA standard, because there could be edges that could turn into sharp points if the material is harder, because how it breaks.
And there are certain standards that we have to meet, basically at every age grade for toys. There are different standards that you have to be held to, and since all of the 6-inch collector lines at Hasbro, with the exception of, Deadpool, basically, because of the movie ranking, there's our 4+, we have to be held to certain safety standards.
Yeah, of course.
Because of play, you have to be held to certain safety standards, and Hasbro is actually one of the highest levels of safety requirements. However, we are actively fixing it. So you're going to see within 24, it hopefully 95% washed away where we can. Like some weapons might be a little flimsy because of certain details that have to be maintained in the different materials, but we've switched materials on all the weapons because again, it's been driving me crazy. I hate when weapons are floppy like that.
Yeah, I'm always getting the hairdryer out trying to straighten them up. Like, don't get me wrong,
it won't.
The designs of them and stuff are great. I love Joe's because you can display a figure on the shelf with his loadout. You ain't got little bags of accessories. You can literally have him on the shelf with his loadout, and if you sat there in a Zoom meeting at work, you can just grab a figure, rearrange the display. Like, it's just like fidget toys for adults. You know, like So look, again, it's just one of those questions that I know if I didn't ask, everyone would be like, that's the that's the glaring thing people are concerned about.
I'm glad you asked it. And we've answered it a couple of times now, but it's nice to elaborate on it. Where like something we're highly aware of, and sometimes in product development, whether it's toy, cars, mugs, whatever, there is certain requirements you have to hit, and you have to find a way, or the material, or the process, or the design changes that allow you to have it look a certain way, and then work within those parameters to still make it look good.
Yeah.
So it's something that we're highly aware of. We're fixing. 24, it should pretty much be a thing of the past. 23, you'll see some of them like that. Or I should say 25, it'll be a thing of the way we work. We work.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
25, it'll be a thing of the past. 24, you'll see it start dwindling away. Again, I can't iterate enough to the community. It drives me crazy.
Yeah. I think it's just the awareness. I think hearing it from you guys that you are aware of it and it's something you're conscious of, I think that will give people confidence. But before you go, as a UK guy, I have to bring up Action Man. He's obviously he's a G.I. Joe spin. You didn't have these bright orange packaging in America, or did you?
You did.
You did. Oh, okay. This is my nostalgia. Like, obviously, I went back and G.I. Joe went through like a family members' figures in the 3 and 3 inch, but this is what it was all about for me. So I was just putting it into the zeitgeist. I want an Action Man orange packaging style tribute in the classified line, all right? A Dr. X as well, even though he's sort of a Mindbender spin-off, and we all know it. We all know it, Action Man.
With the opening up chest.
All the guys, but it's just this orange packaging. Put a classified figure in this orange packaging with that logo, if possible. Beautiful.
We're talking orange shirt. We're talking orange shirt Action Man. I'm not fully versed in Action Man.
There's
so many orange shirt, snowboard pants.
You can do the roller skating one, the one with the dog. I don't mind. Just give him this tattoo, his blue pants, and the fuzzy hair or something like that. You know, like, let's go all out. But yeah, the nostalgia's real for Action Man, and he
was so 90s. He was like the most 90s of 90s characters.
Well, one of the first Action Man I had was Duke. It was an Action Man version of Duke from G.I. Joe.
Oh,
so
cool.
That actually had G.I. Joe on the tag, but because in the UK it was branded Action Force, it was the first time I seen G.I. Joe was on one of my toys as a kid. The Duke had G.I. Joe on his chest. So yeah, again, since then I've been fascinated, and like, I'm so glad Classifieds exist. And thank you for killing the line. Honestly, I'm a big fan and looking forward to everything that 2024 has in store.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Right, not a problem.
Yeah, thank you for having us. This has been delightful.
Beautiful. Well, I'll send it back to myself for an outro. So Dan, over to you. Thank you very much, Dan. What a great guy he is. Once again, thank you very much to Emily and Lenny for their time and that fun conversation about G.I. Joes. Honestly, I am excited about 2024, and it's nice to know they're aware of the imperfections of the line as well, as there isn't many, to be fair, but the QC and the gummy weapons is definitely one of them, and you can see for yourself in that interview that even Lenny himself is frustrated, and it's something they are addressing. Also, it's nice to know we are getting other bigger vehicles. Emily basically confirmed we would be getting another vamp scaled vehicle later this year, so let the speculation continue. Non-retro cards is nice to know in advance as well, so let me know what nuggets you managed to pick out of that little podcast, if you will, in the comments below. And make sure you do check out my Joes+Juice podcast with both Tom and Mark as co-hosts, recapping everything in the world of G.I. Joes. We try and do it once a month, but there is a playlist on the channel that you can go and indulge in right now. But if you like this type of content, you're in the right place. Check out the videos tab, find the playlist, but most importantly, please hit that subscribe button, hit all on the notification bell, don't miss out on a video, and please hit that join button, become a channel member, either show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. You can follow me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. I'm on Twitter at Dan Who Reviews, and as always, my name is Dan W, and I will of course see you on the next one.